Banana Slam Jam.
What's up, guys? We're back with another replay analysis. This is actually a unique one. I have a new player here. He's played about 150 games. Hasn't even played in a ranked game yet because he hasn't logged enough hours. What I'm going to basically be doing is I'm going to watch probably the first 10 to 15 minutes of your game, and I'm going to go relatively in depth as much as I can about basic mechanics to get better at this game. And I'll not only talk about like what's wrong with the mechanic, but I'm also going to talk to you about what I think you should do to get better at it. So that's going to be the goal of this replay analysis. This will be for anyone that doesn't know these mechanics or doesn't do them. When you're first getting started with Dota, I think conceptual knowledge is whatever. I think you just need to learn the heroes in the game. Every time you're in a game, you should click the heroes on your team and learn what they do. And I think that you should have maybe 5 heroes that you play. I don't want you to get too limited where you can only play one hero, but I also don't want you to be overwhelmed. So I would say you could do a mixture. It depends on how much Dota you're playing. You do a mixture of, once you get ranked unlocked, you can do a mixture of playing like 5 core heroes, and then maybe like one day a week, just random and play unranked. Like just random and literally just be a potato, but learn the hero that you're playing. And what that'll do is you'll get pretty damn good at 5 heroes, and you'll also slowly but surely accrue better knowledge of heroes in the game. For like the longest time, I specifically remember like always just dying to Banes and being like, this hero's fucking broken, like blows my mind kind of stuff. And I think it's really important that you slowly but surely learn what heroes do, and the best way to learn a hero is to play it at least once. So maybe one day a week, go random, and the rest of the time you should focus on 5 heroes and learn on the mechanics I'm telling you. He told me he watches my YouTube videos. His starting items are good, so he clearly is not a potato when it comes to he is trying to learn and get better at Dota. Like these are definitely better than the average person in this bracket for starting items.
Hello, I'm Gabe Newell. You've just achieved first blood.
So this is an example in the meta right now that Tusk is really fucking strong, and he's really strong at the runes. In the early game, tag team level 1 is a scary spell, and you got to be very careful of trying to take fights against heroes like that. Like whenever I go into the game, I think to myself, like if we were to 2v2 them, who does that benefit? Is my support good against theirs? It's tough, but it's something you can pay attention to as time goes on. You probably won't know most of these answers, but like Tusk is way better at the rune than Shaman, for instance. Shaman very squishy, Tusk very strong. So it's like just paying attention to these matchups, and I'm just telling you the important thing to note is that you should be paying attention to who's winning at the rune based on the supports and stuff, and you'll learn it over time. Don't attack the creeps forward like that. You do care about lane equilibrium. You don't necessarily have to worry that much about keeping it back, but you don't want to do anything that is keeping it forward. So at all times, you should have the creeps only attacking you when you are attacking the opponent. Like that's it. It's a very basic mechanic, and for anyone who plays a lot of Dota, like a lot of these things we're going to be talking about, people are going to be like, BSJ, shut up. But this is where you attack the guy, you accidentally A-click the guy, or maybe you A-clicked him, and this range creep's attacking you. So what's going to most often happen is the range creep's going to continue attacking you, because the melee creeps will just de-aggro you to go back to other melee creeps. And so a really good habit to get in is every time the range creep starts attacking you, to A-click one of your own units. So right now, this whole time that this range creep's going to be attacking you because you attacked him, you didn't misclick, you just attacked him. Right here, see how it's just attacking you? You should get rid of that aggro. Like, so a mechanic you should get used to is that range creep starts attacking you, unless you're chasing after the guy immediately. Does the creeps hit you like 4 or 5 times? You should instantly de-aggro it by A-clicking your own units. So yeah, you are just pushing the lane. That's not good to just do. So when you're going for aggressive plays, it's all about how many creeps you're missing. So notice how what you're going to do here, because you pushed the wave earlier, you have way more creeps. What you'll quickly learn if you're paying attention is range creeps do way more damage than melee creeps. So if you get it such that you have 2 range creeps and he has 1, the lane's going to shove very quickly. Like, the snowballing effect of pushing the lane or pulling it back is really high. So if you go for a kill while you have way more creeps than they do, you have to keep in mind that you're missing a lot of creeps. Like, you're going to miss a lot of creeps because they're going to die. Like, the enemy creeps are going to die really fast. So what usually really good players try to do is they actually try to go for the kill right as the creep wave's dying, because you have way more creeps than they do, so you're stronger, but then at the same time, you're not going to miss creeps because the creep wave is already dead. So, like, I would usually be posturing aggressive. If this guy tries to trade with you, he's going to tank a lot of creeps. Otherwise, you finish off the creep wave, and then you can look to be aggressive then, and not to miss CS. So, like, this right now is, as long as that guy lives, this is a really bad play for you. Like, it's a high risk, low reward. You're missing 3 creeps to get a kill, which is barely a net gain. And if he lives, you're shoving the tower, and he's just getting free XP underneath his tower this early on in the game. So the key emphasis about the first wave is just don't casually pot shot the creeps. Watch what people are doing in my games, professional games. Like, you can just watch a player. Like, the only reason they push the wave is because the lane's either already pushing into them, so they're trying to keep it even, or they're doing it because the opponent heroes naturally push the lane way more than they do. So, like, I'll see a player like Artesia Jug hit the creeps forward when he's against, like, an Underlord who can nuke the wave down. But they have absolutely no wave clear on these 2 heroes. So if you keep the lane back, that's perfectly fine for you. You just don't want the lane to be shoved into your tower, and you don't want to shove it into theirs. As a carry, that's almost always the case. So start focusing on lane equilibrium. Try to focus on that. If you're going for kills and harass and stuff, obviously it's going to mess it up a bit. But if they're not provoking you, which most players in your bracket will not, you should really focus on keeping it as close to your tower as possible. Eventually, you can look to make use. The goal for me, when it comes to creep equilibrium, I have a video on GameLeap about this, but I understand it's like a paywall, is that the first step is to learn how to keep the lane in place. The second step is to learn how to correct it if it gets out of place. And the third step is to understand what it means to have it push and what it means to have it shoved into your tower, and then make the correct plays accordingly. So worrying about what the implications are of the lane pushing is like third step. The first step is to try to make sure it stays in place. Oh, and then the fourth step can also be like third, fourth step combined, is to know when you're supposed to push the lane because of good reasons, or to know like exceptions to why you're not supposed to keep the lane in place. Like, there are exceptions to this. So, but the first step is, if you don't know how to keep it in place by sheer will, you're not going to be able to utilize any of the other tools either. So that's how I usually provide the order of things you should do here. So at this point, the lane shoved into their tower. That all starts with you attacking the wave like 3 times on the first wave. It really adds up. So the lane is going to push back into you. Your aggression's pretty decent, all things considered. Okay. Alright, now lane equilibrium is good for you because he had a lot of range creeps. You're definitely not de-aggroing, so practice de-aggroing. It's a big one for you. It's a very basic mechanic, and once you get it down, you'll never have to worry about it again. That was a very wasted spin. I don't have much else to say about it. Maybe you were scared. It was just a bad spin. I'm sure you know that. Maybe you misclicked.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Consider flying yourself more regen with that first set of Wraith Band. Wraith Band boots. Like, your items are reasonable, but you also have mana issues. You did spend an extra time, which is unfortunate.
Hello, this is Gabe.
So you're obviously getting out leveled.
Thanks for playing Dota 2.
Don't be afraid to let the lane go into your tower. So you're effectively babying yourself
Double
right now.
kill.
So by keeping the lane outside of the tower, you're just going to tank damage. And you don't have the regen to do so. I usually view Dota as like, if I take it under tower, there's a chance I miss a CS. But unless I just have a ton of spare regen, or I'm like super strong where I just want to make sure the guy doesn't like pull the big camp or something, I just take it into my tower. And you don't have regen to spare, so you can't afford to do this. Take it under your damn tower and learn how to CS under tower. Like, the worst thing you can actually do in growth in a game like Dota, I learned this the hard way myself, is to know you're not good at something and try to avoid the situation from happening rather than just sucking it up and learning. Like, just get better at it. So let the creep wave go into your tower. The negatives is that you are taking damage. So the times where you can afford to not take it into your own tower is when you have like a ton of excess regen, or you already have that morbid mask and it doesn't affect you. But anytime that doesn't apply, you just have to take it into your tower. So this is just lazy. Not late. It's lazy in the sense that you're taking more damage than you should, and you're trying to avoid it going underneath your tower.
Smart money.
So obviously your shaman has never pulled. It wouldn't hurt if you find a newer player to support with you. I think it would be a big part of your growth if you started practicing lanes properly. Your support hasn't pulled a single time. Maybe this is somebody you know. For all I know, let me actually check before I grief myself here. No. I would highly recommend, if you're going to play carry over and over again, to practice with somebody in the support role. Because you guys can start talking about how you want to play the lane. It's very basic concepts, meaning like the skill ceiling on that's really high, but you can start doing a very basic level of like, hey, the lane's pushed out, go pull, and be on the same page about that kind of stuff. A lot of the things that it comes to learning, if possible, is going to boil down to whether or not your support can work with you. And if you don't have a support that works with you, it's just going to take you longer to learn these things because you're effectively only learning the perspective of one hero rather than two. So if possible, I'd recommend that. He is going to pull for you. Not much else you can do right now. You guys kind of just shove the lane into CK. You're behind in levels. You've already messed up a lot to this point, but it really did start with what you did first wave. And it adds up a lot.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
So at this stage, you ask yourself, it's about 6 to 8 minutes into the game. You should ask yourself, do I think I'm really strong compared to the offlaner? If the answer is yes, you should continue laning and look to be aggressive, maybe shoving it into his tower and farming the big camp. If you don't think you're stronger, you should look to rotate between jungle and lane, but prioritizing jungle and then to lane when you're defending your tower. So that's like the two polarizing situations. There's very few things that come in between. So what I'm saying is we're going to try to minimize downtime as you grow in efficiency. Jug is a great hero to practice this. I think any carry that gains levels and gains like power with just levels is really good for this. Slark, Lifestealer, Jug, all the heroes I like playing. Ursa, more of a kill hero, but he's fine. Troll Warlord. Weaver's another example to practice this patch if you want. PL. These are heroes where you're either shoving it in aggressively and rotating. Weaver doesn't fit this build actually, but it's fine. You're either shoving it in aggressively and then farming your jungle, or you're farming jungle and defending your tower. Nowhere in between. There's no staticking the wave. I'm not saying you're doing that. There's no staticking the wave. It's simply asking yourself, do you think you're stronger than the guy in the lane? If you're stronger, you push it and you farm jungle. If you're weaker, you farm jungle and defend. Nowhere in between. Very few exceptions. And you should get that down right now. So you can watch other players to learn that kind of shit too. But to know it's in your head, to know nothing except for those two options is okay, is a good basic start. Yes, are there other choices? Are there exceptions? Absolutely. Will you have to deal with those until you're 5K? No. So let's not worry about those things, right? So that's a great way to make sure you're more efficient. So let's see what you do here. Okay, so you end up fighting them. Fine. So you push in the wave. You should go jungle that big camp now. Right now. No downtime. Okay, so it took you a bit, but that's fine. That's slow, but like that's way faster than I would hope for. Did you fly yourself a clarity? I hope you did. Let's find out. No, you need to fly yourself a clarity. Get in the habit when you're flying that first set out. If you've used any of your regen, like half of it, like that first boots Wraithband, fly yourself tangos. If you have mana issues and you're flying yourself an item, fly clarities. At least one. In this case, I probably would have brought two. It just needs to be repetition in your mind. Like every time you buy items, check to yourself: do I have mana? Do I have health? Do I need any regen items? If the answer is no, continue on your merry way. If the answer is yes, buy it. Like right now, I'd love if you had extra mana. You did get mana booted, but that's an exception.
Thanks for
here.
playing Dota 2.
Okay.
Double kill.
So what's the negative of being at low health right now,
Double
right?
kill.
And the answer is that you could die. But you have a Morbid Mask. So I think using this healing ward is not actually necessary. Because you see someone mid, you see someone bottom, and all this time they're dead, you can push out the wave, and then you can go jungle. I probably would have stacked the camp right now with this time. I probably would have spent my time stacking the camp. I'm not saying it's bad for you to healing ward, necessarily, but it's worth considering not to. And so you're going to shove in the lane, that's fine. I'll go jungle. Cool, okay. Fly yourself clarities. This is the big thing for me. So you're going Mask of Madness, Battle Fury, you get an Arcane Ring, that's pretty pog in terms of the problems you're having. That's very lucky. Remember bounties, so you could have gone and probably picked up the bounty. So you go Morbid without the Mask of Madness. If you're gonna go Morbid, go Mask of Madness. Period. That's like no exceptions to that on Jug.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
There's no like luxury regen item in the Mask in the Morbid. You're buying a Mask of Madness for the early aggression, and then you're buying Battle Fury to scale. And I think you could probably go Mask of Madness, Battle Fury every single game of your bracket, and it would be acceptable. What did you buy?
Killing spree.
Okay, you did buy the Mask of Madness. Good. I think buying that Void Stone is literally you being lazy once again. Like you, instead of buying Clarities, you delayed your Mask of Madness by 800 gold. So that's like how you need to think about it. I delayed my Mask of Madness for 800 gold in order to not buy Clarities. You're very aggressive. I don't mind this. I don't really have much to say about this at the current moment. Your skill build's good. I'd start prioritizing Ancients now that you have Mask of Madness, which is good. You don't have ult. You're forcing this. You know what? Fuck it. You want to do this? Go ahead. Let's see what happens. I don't know if I would do this, but you're being way more aggressive than I would ever expect someone in, even someone higher than your bracket to be. You're clearly trying to learn Dota with a purpose. If you've really only played 150 games, this is a very good start for you. So we'll watch a bit more, because I don't have much to say about this right now. Other than what I've already said. So you stay in the bottom half of the map. This is the natural progression for 90% of carries in the game. This is great. Good. You should go farm Ancients. Oh, okay. You want to go make sure you push out the wave? Go ahead. I think you could be prioritizing Ancients a bit more. Could have dropped this People's Gift, but these are very small things. Notice how they brought 2 heroes bottom. So what I told you was, hey, go farm an Ancient camp and then come back, because by the time you come back, the lane's going to be shoved into your tower. So it's the same concept applied at 17 minutes as I told you in your lane. If you're stronger than them, push out the lane first, then come back. If you think you're weaker, farm a jungle camp, then come back to the lane. That's like a very basic level of efficiency, where you kind of like backed off to here, and then you proceeded to like sit there for a second and then come back to lane. So try to make this like very methodical. Eventually, it's not that simple, but if you do that right now, you'll be like more efficient than anybody in the 2 to 3K bracket, let alone like beginners. So
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
So like you don't see them on the map, so I'm perfectly fine if you retreat. to do this. I'd even go farm the big camp. Perfect. Could have tried to stack that. Farm the Ancients on the way. Good. Go back to bottom. Be wary about popping Mask of Madness if they're missing. Like in lane, especially like that. You're doing it off cooldown, and that's fine. I think in the short term, that's good. But in the long term, they're all missing, and you walking in like that is pretty nutty. So it's also like nutty that you're showing in lane and using a Mask of Madness, because then you just die if they go on you. Because you're effectively not survivable when you're in Mask of Madness, right? You see 2 top, you see 1 bottom. So this is good. Good movement. This is way above 150 games. I keep saying that, but...
Radiant's top tower.
around here. I think these are just growing pains for you. CK is pretty damn good against your hero until you get like 4 items. So
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
you just have to learn that matchup. There's not much else to say actually. I think your play was reasonable. You just don't know matchups, and that's expected. So.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
So you went back bottom.
A dominating performance.
In your bracket, you just need to maximize farm efficiency because you're not going to climb trying to play Team Dodo with shitters. Like, you're just not going to. Eventually, we need to start talking about TPs on the map and all that kind of stuff. But if you just play the bottom half of the map and get 6 slotted every single game when you're Dire, and you play the top half and get 6 slotted when you're Radiant, that'll be a recipe for success. At least until you take the tier 2 of that lane. So once you take tier 2 bottom, you can consider leaving. But until then, you don't leave. You want to show up to fights on your triangle? That's great. When you're a farming hero and the opponent invades your triangle, it's great to show up. Why? Because that's where you're naturally farming. Instead of forcing fights like you did against the CK like about 4 minutes ago, that's different. You're making an aggressive play and you're choosing to fight. If they go onto your triangle, that's like the most advantageous part of the map for you guys to fight as long as everyone's there. So that's why, like, that's an example of why that fight went well. Generally, it will. The odds of it going well on your own triangle are quite good. Obviously it's not going to be that way always, but yeah, you clearly watch my YouTube videos. Like, I'm not saying that to like have my own horn here, but you are definitely playing Dota conceptually way above beginner. The fact that you haven't left the bottom half of the map for the last 10 minutes says a lot. I'm watching more because you're actually impressing me. So at this stage in the game, to solo carry, the way I look at it is this. Efficiency, early aggression. Or I'd say early aggression. Efficiency. Survivability. Now at this stage, you ask yourself, is there an item that puts me over the threshold of survivability? Like, is there an item I can buy that I just don't die? And if the answer is yes, you buy it. If the answer is no, you go for a kill item. So in this case, I think the best 2 items for you to go would be, like, Abyssal MKB. Like, because you're dealing with Wind Ranger, I think Abyssal MKB is your best, like, progression from here. I think you could either consider Silver Edge MKB. Silver Edge makes it so you can scout for your team, provide vision for them. You have a lot of stuns, and it makes you also more survivable while you're running around the map. Because if the opponent doesn't insta-stun you, like, you get your spin off, you're going to live, right? So that's why Silver Edge is nice for that reason. It's also a nice damage item. So I would consider the items of Abyssal, and they have Wind Ranger, and probably Luna's going to buy a Butterfly, so that's why I said MKB. So I would be considering MKB, Abyssal, and Silver Edge. And on Jug, if you went the first 3 items of Mask of Madness, Battle Fury, Manta, and you went either Butterfly, Abyssal, Silver Edge, MKB, or I guess Rapier sometimes, or like 5th item Ags, those are your choices. But right now in this specific game, you can start thinking like, okay, if there's an item that makes me unkillable, I buy it. If not, kill threat, period. If I already have kill threat, more damage. Like, simple. So, like, say you have Abyssal and you're like, I don't need a survivability item. I just want damage. Boom, Butterfly, right? Like, that's how you come up with that one.
Dominating performance.
Okay.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So I want you to start thinking about your team's movements and using map awareness as a process of elimination. So what the lanes mean for you is their information, okay? Based on what you see on the map, ask yourself right now, excuse the spinning. Based on where the opponent is not, meaning they are not top, they are not mid on they are mid on 2 heroes, but they are 5 heroes alive. Where are they? If they're not top, they're not mid, where are they? They're bottom. So if that's the case, and your team's top like this, don't walk up this fucking hill, right? That's pretty obvious, is it not? Did it end up working out for you? Sure, but I wouldn't bank on that being consistent. No flame, like, it's just something to start thinking about. Map awareness is much more about process of elimination than it is about seeing people. It's not people tend to think map awareness is looking at your minimap. Yes, it is, like, you are required to look at your minimap, but I consider map awareness to be understanding where they are based on what you don't see. Because as you get better and better at Dota, they show you less and less by being, like, they're good at Dota, so they don't give you as much information to work off of. Butterfly's fine. I probably would have gone Abyssal first. Butterfly's fine, though. Like, it's not great, but it's not, like, you're not at a point where perfect itemization is going to be expected. So at this point, you should strongly consider Roche. That's kind of the objective to play around. But your team's not really doing much. The game's going to get real awkward. Your hero just doesn't scale very well against Luna CK. It just really doesn't. You have a lot of CS, all things considered, but it could be even more. I think it was a lot of the little things early that kind of racked up. MKB's a good item. I would have gone Abyssal MKB Butterfly, kept the Mask of Madness for a while. I think you were pretty survivable, so you could afford to keep the Mask of Madness and have your damage output be higher.
Every coin helps.
Bounty.
Easy game. I'm not even going to worry about it from here. So I hope there's a lot of little fundamental things you got from this replay. I know I probably did longer than I usually do. But, yeah, those are things that you should start thinking about. And all it is, in terms of Dota, is just growth one thing at a time, right? You already are playing the right part of the map. Now it comes down to the efficiency. It's a lot about the early game. And I'm honestly impressed, man. So keep it up. Really good job. Don't get in your own head, though. You still suck. And hope you got something out of that.